And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we will be discussing how wages aren't keeping up with inflation. It's been this way for decades. And we're going to discuss trolls. As I have been telling you guys time and time again, my channel is beginning to grow. And I'm starting to notice that I am attracting a lot of people who don't want me putting out this type of information. And I'm going to, at the beginning today, we're really going to dive deep into trolling on the internet and how the government, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I like a good conspiracy theory here or there, but I'm going to give you facts that the government pays people to spread disinformation. And what I'm beginning to see is that on my videos, when I talk about investing in gold and investing in silver and investing in hard assets and investing in cryptocurrency, that there's these profiles that are coming onto my page. And many of them, they have the same picture. They don't have any videos up on their channel. And some days they will agree with me. And then they'll purposely, they'll say things that just make no sense whatsoever. But when I express this to you, you're going to begin to understand what I'm talking about. Now, I pride myself in giving you information that you can yourself go and verify. And if you've been following me, you would know that I'm a huge, not just a fan of the movie The Matrix, but there's so many life lessons and jewels that you can get from that movie. And what you have to understand is that you will never truly ever be free. And you will never be able to escape the matrix. Every level you go to, there will be another form of control. And now we have to start talking about agents. You see the picture of Agent Smith that I have up here. I want you to think about this. When you are in the matrix, right? When you're plugged in, at any moment, anyone can become an agent. And I really encourage you guys to go back and watch that movie because we're living in times where you're going to start to see this stuff. Where at any moment, and see, as a black man, and I don't want to make this about race, but I have to because there are certain predetermined lanes that as a black man you have to go down or that you have to follow. And when you start to venture out of those lanes, when you're a black man and you're talking about computer science, you're talking about cryptography, you're talking about investing in gold and silver, you are truly a threat. Because, see, you're talking and you're speaking to a demographic of people who were conditioned to be consumers, who were conditioned to be slaves. So when you start talking about real liberation, not that fake pro-black back to Africa, red, black, and green hotep nonsense, but really talking to people about understanding credit, understanding how the system works, understanding how debt works, understanding what's real and what's fake, you are really, truly dangerous because that's really waking people up. Not by creating a movement of people that follow you, but creating a movement of people that can truly think for themselves. See, when you start putting that type of stuff into people's mind, not creating a movement of followers, not this, Pan-Africanness. No, planting the seed of how you can think and understand how to use the system against itself. That's when you become powerful, right? Because see, when people come on my videos, and I'm going to get to the comments in a second, you're going to see that he's not saying anything. He's not providing any information that really goes against what I'm saying. He's really agreeing with what I'm saying, but he's trying to steer you away from what you should be doing right now. You should be focused on self-preservation right now. Self-preservation is the highest form of elevation. You cannot love and take care of no one else if you cannot take care of yourself first. And that is one of the most key important things that so many of us miss. We always talk about trying to look out for the collective. But if you can't If you're not in a good space mentally, physically, and spiritually, how the hell are you going to be able to pass that on to someone else? Right? So I just want you to understand that. Really follow me on this, because I know some of you're like, where is this going? It all is relevant. It all ties together. There's a lot of people out here spreading disinformation and spreading misinformation, and they are being paid to do so. So now, let's get to the good stuff. And as you come into the live stream, guys, please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Also, make sure that you join the mailing list so that you can be notified when I go live. And make sure that you follow me on Instagram and shoot me a message or a DM if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about. And as usual, if you want to support the content financially, and you don't have to, a link to my PayPal will be in the description below. So yesterday, we spoke about the oil and gas industry. And I told you guys 2 things are going to happen. I always said this first. You're going to get deflation before you get the inflation. Why is that? Because our system is based upon debt. It's a fiat currency. Every fiat currency in the history of man has went to zero. Every single fiat currency has went to zero. Gold and silver is money, and it has been money for thousands of years. And we'll get to that later on. But I said to you, the money printer has to go burr. They have to print their way out of this. There's no way out of this but printing money. And right on cue, what does Trump tweet out this morning? We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down. I have instructed the Secretary of Energy and Secretary of Treasury to formulate a plan which will make funds available so that these very important companies and jobs will be secured long into the future. That means more money printing. But before you get the money printing, right, the government needs an excuse to bail these companies out. Well, what better excuse than crashing oil prices? But as I've told you guys time and time again, just look around you. Are your wages increasing faster than inflation? Are you getting a raise every year or every 2 to 3 years that's actually keeping up with the cost of everything around you? Tuition prices are higher. Home prices are higher. Milk is higher, right? All of these things around you is going up, and your wages aren't going up because, see, we have an artificial system that's based off of debt. And what you're beginning to see now is other countries are looking for an alternative to the US dollar. And where are they looking at? Where's China and gold looking? They're buying tons and tons of gold. Tons of it. They're buying cryptocurrency. Where's most of the mining in Bitcoin at right now? It's in China. That's not by coincidence. People want an alternative to the US dollar system. And I don't claim to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I just claim to be a person that has common sense and I know how to follow the path. Now, I took this and I put this up yesterday because we have to get to the trolling. And this guy right here, Mark J, he's always commenting on my stuff. And he's always somehow trying to find a reason to disagree with what I'm saying, right? And if you read what he's doing, this is Orwellian because he's agreeing, but then disagreeing at this on the other end, but he's not really saying anything and providing anything of substance. So let's just read a little bit of what he had to say. He says, "You're correct, Eli. They will try to do everything they can, particularly Trump, in an election year to save all U.S. industries and major companies." And let me zoom in a little bit so I can read this a little bit better. However, you have to understand the dollar going to zero game is super rigged, which we all know. I talk about the dollar being rigged all the time. They learned from previous great empires and made sure the dollar became not only the currency of the US, but the main currency of the world. The dollar as a currency is currently up 4% year to date. How could that be? It's the reality because the dollar is the world's reserve currency. It doesn't trade in a vacuum. So it's the best currency in a block of bad currencies. And with 5 or 6 other major currencies pegged to the dollar, when a dollar falls a lot in value, another currency has to increase greatly in value. This is what didn't exist with prior great empires and why the game is rigged. The only chance the dollar has for falling greatly in value is, as you mentioned the other night, a China and Russia being able to detach from the dollar as the world currency, which in turn would bring a host of other issues, being that China owns so much US debt. I, like you, have been accumulating gold for a long time, but the death of the dollar going anywhere near zero is a pipe dream until major countries, China and Russia in particular, can detach from the dollar. Now, again, this, my friends, is Orwellian. This is doublespeak because he's agreeing but disagreeing, but his disagreements is basically leaning towards why the dollar's going to collapse. Like, he's saying that the dollar's up 4% year to date. Now, I blocked him because, again, like I said before, what he's saying is illogical. And I'm going to show you that. So now he's saying that the dollar's up 4% year to date. But then I came and said, you can't say it's a pipe dream when the dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power. The writing is on the wall for the dollar. China and Russia have already begun to move away from the dollar. Russia is sitting on 2,299 tons of gold. Every fiat currency has eventually went to zero. I'm hitting him with facts. Now, he's telling me it's up 4% year to date. But guys, I always show you this chart right here. Give me 1 second. The dollar's down 90% in purchasing power. Over the past 100 years, it's down 90%. So he's telling me it's up 4%, but it's down 90% if you actually value it over the long run, right? It's down 90%. But he's talking about it's up 4% year to date. Now, again, I didn't even waste my time to check that because we know why the dollar's going up. There's deflation before inflation. Asset prices have to come down. Right? Now, just follow me here. This isn't complicated. So now when I hit him with the 90%, his response to me is, well, you can't compare money from 1913, right? You can't compare money from 1913 to money in 2020. Do you understand how stupid that is of an argument? Right? That argument doesn't even make any logical sense. Number one, I'm going to pull up the data in a second in the charts and show you. If you're working right now, you're earning money. Like, this isn't complicated stuff, right? This isn't, complicated math, right? If I'm working in 1971 and I'm getting paid in money, because he said that you have to focus on when you save it and when you spend it. Well, if I'm saving money and my money's losing 3% on average every year, just sitting in the bank, why would I continue to keep doing that? Think about that, right? Like, just think about the whole purpose of accumulating wealth, right? Is that you want to be able to accumulate wealth to do something with it. If I sit in cash, I'm losing 3% every single year. I'm losing money every year. Now, again, I know what some of you are saying. Okay, well, where are you going with this? I'm going somewhere because his argument is illogical. If I take my savings and I'm a boomer and I'm working and I park it in my bank account, I'm losing purchasing power every single year. This is your Fed chairman right here. This is not me making this up. Fed's Powell upbeat on economy says low inflation allows for low rates. They're saying that inflation is low. Right? But you have to compound the inflation every single year. So look at this. Every year, this is from 1971. This is the government CPI data. Every year, your money on average is losing at least 3%. You have 4, you have 3, you have 6, you have 11, you have 9. This is from 1971. If you parked your money in a bank account, you are losing purchasing power every single year. You are losing money if you put it in a bank account. So his argument doesn't even make any sense. Because the dollar may be up, right? 4%. But in real terms, it's actually down because it's not about the percentage of what the dollar's up. It's what your dollar can buy, because inflation is a hidden tax, right? Think about it. Inflation is something that you don't see until you spend that money. Think about this, right? This is not complicated. This is not complicated here, people. If my money is losing 3%, and that's if you believe government data, and the dollar's up 4%, well, based upon his logic, I only have increased 1%. Right? It makes no sense. And look, we have a troll here right now, just before we get to trolling. You see Just Living? Look what Just Living is posting. Right? Now, we're going to get back to all this inflation data and stuff in a second. But I wanted you to see his comments. And like I said, I blocked him. And this is some of the other stuff that he was saying. That's a different argument, because I said that inflation isn't keeping up with wages. And he said that's a different argument. There are various reasons why income won't keep up with inflation, like corporate greed. No, that's not why. Most of the monetary expansion is through debt and credit creation. It's not real money in circulation. And this is why a gold standard was important, because you only could spend the money that was backed by the gold that you had, right? You were constrained. You couldn't spend more money than the gold that you had. So you actually had the actual piece of paper was redeemable in gold, so it had value, real world value. So you couldn't just inflate, and you couldn't create trillions of dollars of debt through credit. Right? Now, I want to go to trolling, because see, this is important. You have to understand. Look, and if you go to his profile, right? Let's go to his profile so you can understand where I'm going with this. He has no content up here. He has 12 subscribers. Right? I'm telling you what he said, Aaron Lamb. I'm repeating what he said. I read one of his comments right here. Like, I read the comment that he said. Mark J, right? He has 12 subscribers. Now, I've seen this image from about 4 or 5 different people who have been trolling me. And as I said before, he comes in the comment sections and he debates with a lot of you, because a lot of you don't really know this information. So he could come in here and debate with you. But I want to talk to you about trolling because it's important. It says at least 70 countries have had disinformation campaigns, a study finds. Right now, this article is from September 26, 2019. In Vietnam, citizens were enlisted to post pro-government messages on their personal Facebook pages. The Guatemalan government used hacked and stolen social media accounts to silence dissenting opinions. Ethiopia's ruling party hired people to influence social media conversations in its favor. Despite increased effort by internet platforms like Facebook to combat internet disinformation, the use of the technique by governments around the world is growing. Governments are spreading disinformation to discredit political opponents, bury opposing views, and interfere in foreign affairs. And I'm about to show you right now. Let's pull this up right now. Right now, this is what is known as like a bot farm. I can't play the actual video because I don't want to get a copyright. Right? They have these type of bots, these type of farms. Like, you ever seen people who buy subscribers or they buy followers? Well, there are people who actually can program these phones to comment and make and say things. And then right here, right? This is China. They actually pay people to troll people, right? They're professional trolls. They're on the government payroll. They get paid to spread conspiracy theories, to spread disinformation. And this is why I told a lot of you guys, you have to be careful who and what you're following on the internet. Where do you think the flat earth theory comes from? How do you think the flat earth theory gains traction? Because there's someone behind the scenes who pushes that type of information out there. And that's not saying that it is or isn't true. What I'm saying to you is that many of these conspiracy theories are funded and promoted by professional trolls. And I keep trying to get you guys to understand this because, see, this guy, Mark J., like I said before, and we'll come back to this video. I take a screenshot when people leave certain comments on my video, and then I go back and I compare the writing style, the typing style, and I can tell that this Mark J guy is similar to another profile that I just blocked called "If You Know, You Know." Right? Now think about this. I told you guys, if I go to my blocked, I'm going to show you guys one day. I'm going to take a screenshot. I have over about like 600 profiles blocked. Because, see, they don't want you buying gold and silver. They don't want you buying that physical asset. They don't want you focused on getting no land and getting guns they don't want that type of conversation out here. They want you focused on that $1,200 stimulus. They want you focused on watching whatever, Teddy Riley versus Babyface. That's what they want you doing. They don't want you focused on real things that actually matter. Because, see, if you're focused on things that matter, now you become a threat to the system. It says the researchers compiled information from news organizations, civil society groups, and governments to create one of the most comprehensive inventories of disinformation practices by governments around the world. They found that the number of countries with political disinformation campaigns more than doubled to 70 in the last 2 years, with evidence of at least one political party or government entity in each of those countries engaging in social media manipulation. In addition, Facebook remains the number one social network for disinformation, the report says. Organized propaganda campaigns were found on the platform in 56 countries. Social media technology tends to empower propaganda and disinformation in really new ways. The report highlights the continuing challenge for Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as they try to combat disinformation, particularly when the perpetrators are governments. The companies have announced internal changes to reduce social media manipulation and foreign interference. But the research shows that the use of the tactics, which include bots, remember I just talked to you about bots, fake social media accounts, and hired trolls, is growing. In the past 2 months, the platforms have suspended accounts linked to governments in China and Saudi Arabia. I'm trying to get you guys to understand this. So when you see Mark J, he's not saying anything of true substance. He's just here to come here and disagree. Not because he's going to impact me, but he wants to be an agent of chaos to distract you, to make you start questioning, why do I need gold? Gold's just the rock, right? Because you hear Warren Buffett say, gold doesn't do anything. Well, doesn't oil do something? Don't you need oil to power your car, ship goods and services? Oil just went to negative $40.32 in the May contract. And see, You can't be fooled. And I want to put this image back up because this image is powerful and you have to understand what you're following. Where's the Agent Smith image? I think I removed it. You got to go back to the Matrix. You have to pay attention because while Warren Buffett's telling you that gold is a stupid rock, it doesn't do anything. China just brought 100 tons. Right? While Warren Buffett's telling you the world's greatest investor, who's a crony capitalist, while he's telling you don't buy gold, gold doesn't do anything. Most of the companies and banks that he's a part of are buying gold. Look at this. It says China has added more than 100 tons of gold to its reserves since it resumed buying in December, reinforcing its standing as one of the major official accumulators as central banks stock up on the precious metal. The People's Bank of China picked up more gold last month, raising holdings to 62.64 million ounces in September from 62.45 million in August. I tell you guys, you have to pay attention. It's important that you pay attention to this stuff. And this is Agent Smith right here. I tell you guys, because there's a lot of agents out here. You have to be careful what you watch and what you listen to and who you listen to. Mark J is an agent, and he's an agent of chaos. And I told you guys, these guys get paid to spread disinformation. The government hires trolls, or they're government contractors, which means, think about this. See, you got to be a three-dimensional thinker to put things together. They could be government contractors where they're getting grants from the government. That means they're still getting paid for the government. They may not be working directly with the government, but they're getting paid by the government. And like I said, I see them come on my video all the time and they leave these comments. Just like here. It says, Russia, the world's biggest buyer of gold, will stop purchases. This was in March 30th. This was in March 30th. See, you have to read George Orwell's 1984 to understand how the media, they do something known as doublespeak. They will say one thing and then contradict the very thing that they're saying in another article. So they're saying that Russia is going to stop buying gold, which isn't true, because then in the very next same article here, Russian banks ask central bank to resume gold buying as the virus hits exports. Right? And I highlighted this point because, see, this is that Orwellian language. Russia's central bank suspended gold purchases on the domestic market from April 1st without giving reason. So on the domestic market, they suspended it, but that doesn't mean that the country stopped buying it for their own central bank. However, analysts have suggested it is focusing on foreign currency sales to support the ruble, which has fallen in line with lower oil prices as the virus spreads. So this is for commercial purposes, right? But Bloomberg puts it out there like, oh, Russia's not buying any gold. Oh, yes, they are, because Russia and China wants to get away from the dollar. So when Mark J, if you go back to his original argument, when he's talking about that fiat, that the dollar's not going to go to zero, when guys, if anything that I'm saying is wrong, you can fact check me. Every single fiat currency in the history of man has went to zero. Every currency in the history of man, fiat currency, has went to zero. The only money that has remained money has been gold and silver. That's the only thing that's remained money. Now, Mark J, he's agreeing with me, but he's saying that the dollar's not going to go to zero because they have the game rigged, which is why Russia and China and Iran is trying to get away from the dollar. The rest of the world has realized that the dollar is a scam, which is why they're trying to get away from the dollar, which is why you need to be buying gold and silver. You get the deflation before you get the inflation. And right on cue, I read this article the other day. A growing club of very powerful countries is steering away from using the dollar. It's in your face. You would have to be a fool at this point to argue with what I'm saying. You trade your time for money. And your money, it as if you believe government data. And I'm going to get to why the government data is not correct. If you believe the government data, if you believe the CPI data, that doesn't have housing, doesn't keep education, and it excludes education and housing. If you believe the CPI data, you're losing 3% on a yearly basis. And Mark J's telling me the dollar's up 4% for the year. Well, what about last year? And the year before that? And the year before that? And the year before that? Do you see how stupid these people are? But see, he doesn't think I'm stupid. He thinks you're stupid. He thinks you're stupid, right? Now look at this. It says the US dollar has been the world's major reserve currency for decades, but that status could come under threat as very powerful countries seek to undermine its importance, warned Ann Coren. Major movers such as China, Russia, and the European Union have a strong motivation to de-dollarize, said Coren, co-director at the Energy and Security think tank. I tell you guys, it's here in your face. Right? Why aren't wages keeping up with inflation? See, we talk about generational wealth all the time. There's two different economies, and I tell you guys this all the time. There's the real economy where you and I live, where when we get paid our paycheck or we make our income from our business, we have to pay our employees, we have to put our kids through college, we have to pay our rent, our mortgage, our utility bills. That's the real economy. And then you have the financial economy, right, where you can buy back your stock. You can tap into credit lines. You can rehypothecate shares. You can quantitative ease. You can shift debt to balance sheets. That's all accounting gimmicks and accounting tricks. That's not the real economy where you and I live. See, you and I live in a real economy where things matter, where I can't afford to keep losing 3% of my money every year because I'm getting my wages aren't increasing fast enough to keep up with inflation. But Mark J saying, oh, well, that's 100 years ago, that chart you're pulling up. Well, what about in the 60s and 70s? You could buy a car back in the 60s for $800. What's changed? Let's read this. In the decade since the 2008 recession, we've had an enormous run-up in the stock market, accelerating growth in GDP, and a steady increase in job growth. Yet, despite these positive economic trends, wages are not keeping up. And this article is from October 31st, 2018. I purposely picked this time period when the economy was doing well. When the economy was doing well, I purposely picked that for a reason. Yes, they ticked up in the most recent jobs report, but they're still lagging in a significant way, right? Let's discuss the issue of wages. They are not keeping up with inflation. Consider the data below. While the GDP has risen after inflation, real incomes have barely budged. So let's get to real incomes, right? For most U.S. workers, real wages barely budged in decades. On the face of it, these should be heady times for American workers. U.S. employment is as low as it's been in nearly 2 decades, 3.9% as of July. And the nation's private sector employers have been adding jobs for 101 straight months, and 19.5 million since the Great Recession-related cuts finally abated in early 2010, and 1.5 million just since the beginning of the year. But despite the strong labor market, wage growth has lagged economists' expectations. In fact, despite some ups and downs over the past several decades, today's real average wage, that is the wage after accounting for inflation, has about the same purchasing power it did 40 years ago. And what wage gains there have been have mostly flowed to the highest paid tier of workers. I want you to think about that. I'm going to read that one sentence again. That crushes Mark J's entire argument. In fact, despite some ups and downs over the past several decades, today's real average wage, that is the wage after accounting for inflation, has about the same purchasing power it did 40 years ago. So think about that. Your purchasing power has remained the same for 40 years, but the cost of everything around you has went up. Now, Mark J tries to spin as, oh, no, that's just corporate greed. No, it's really not corporate greed. Because, see, the way the boom and bust cycle works, when the economy is booming, that's actually the poison. Because the economy is booming because companies are going into debt. Consumers are going into debt, and they're over leveraging themselves. So when the deflation comes, here's the problem. You lose your job. So you can't benefit from the deflation because the way the economy is structured, because we have a debt-based economy that's based off of consuming debt and expanding debt, you lose your job when the deflation comes. Like right now, we're having deflation, right? But we're not having price deflation. We're having asset price deflation. But here's the problem. You can't buy none of the assets because you don't have a goddamn job. But Mark J is going to tell you, you can't compare it to 1913. You don't have to go to 1913. You can go to 1960. You can go to 1970. Inflation is increasing faster than your wages. And then when we get to deflation, because it's really just the financial economy that's deflating, right? Why do you think that they bail out banks and companies, right? Because the only way the economy can grow is that you have to keep creating new debt, because money is debt and debt is money in a debt-based economy. Now, how long do you think people are going to sit back here and watch this keep happening? How long do you think the rest of the world is going to watch the dollar because of the Bretton Woods system? And if you think that I'm making this stuff up, go and research the Bretton Woods system right here. Go and look this stuff up. Let's say that I'm a liar. I don't want you to believe me. Don't believe me. Go and research this on your own. Go research this stuff. He's telling you that you don't have to worry about that. I'm telling you, China and Russia is already moving away from the dollar. What do you think Bitcoin exists for? Because people want out of the dollar. It's already happening. So now the question is, how are you positioning yourself? The dollar's lost 90% of its purchasing power. That's a fact. But he's telling you it's up 4% for the year. Well, how much was it down last year? How much was it down the year before? Look at this. Price of college increasing almost 8 times faster than wages. College is increasing almost 8 times faster than wages. The cost of a college education is skyrocketing. It's no surprise that student loans now make up the largest chunk of U.S. non-housing debt. Yes, more than both credit cards and auto loans. And guys, I did a video on this already where I dived into this, where you can go and learn this as well. Many baby boomers and Gen Xers remember working their way through college and graduating with little to no debt. Let me read that for you again. Many baby boomers and Gen Xers remember working their way through college and graduating with little to no debt. Why? Because back then we had real money. See, back then we had money that was actually backed by gold. So you could not inflate the money supply. You only could spend the money that you actually had. That's when we had a real economy. That's when you could save your money and you could put your kid through college. Let's read this a little bit. It says millennials face record levels of debt, and the culprit seems to be the explosive increase in the cost of college education, coupled with the lack of wage growth. How much does a 4-year undergraduate education degree actually cost? I want to skip that. I don't even want to read that. I want to read the other part that I seen. Where is it at? There's something else I wanted to show you guys. I don't even want to read that part. Where was the original price that they had, the old price? Here we go. The comparable cost for the same 4-year degree in 1989 was $26,000. That's $52,000 adjusted for inflation, right? So it says the average for all 4-year institutions comes out to about $26,120 per year. That brings the total cost of attendance to an astronomical total of $104,000. Give me a second. Let me take a sip of some water. Give me a second, guys. But yeah, Mark J's telling you can't compare 1930. This chart, Mark J's telling you that this chart doesn't matter. That's what he's telling you. Since the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913, you've lost 90% of your purchasing power. But Mark J's telling you it doesn't matter. Because see, Mark J's a troll. And he's here to distract you. He's here to confuse you. They don't want you buying gold and silver. They don't want you buying guns. They don't want you buying crypto. They don't want you doing anything outside of the US dollar because you are now going to become a threat. Right? I shared this before. Let's look at this again. This is a picture from McDonald's from 1979. Look at the price of a Filet-O-Fish. 0.48 cents, right? 48 cents. Cheeseburger, 33 cents. Hamburger, 28 cents. Milk, 20 cents. Large fries, 46 cents. French fries, 26 cents. Quarter pounder, 70 cents. What's changed? What's changed? This is from the 1970s. Now he's telling you, that's not, money is comparative, right? Like you have to compare it when you earn it and when you save it. Well, what good is it saving money if you lose 3% every year? See, I'm trying to get you guys to understand that we are at a point now in life, and there's 272 of you watching. Guys, it's free to like the video. Get the likes up. It's free to like the video. We are at a time now where the truth is in your face. There's no more skirting around the truth. It's here. It's in your face. The deflation's happening in asset prices. Most of you don't own any assets. And if you do, you don't own enough. All of the wealth is in the top 1%'s hands. You don't own any wealth. So these bailouts don't benefit you. And the deflation doesn't benefit you because you lose your job when there's deflation. See, something happened in 1971. And I tell you guys, debt is money. I show you these charts for a reason because you can't deny what I'm saying to you. This is the national debt. Look at it from 1971. Look at it from 1971. Look at the debt. It just goes up and up and up and up. You don't have to be a economic, wizard with a PhD. You don't need that. Right? This is M2, the money stock, right? This is all of the money that's in circulation between assets that can be converted into cash, right? So now we're sitting at, there's about $16 trillion in the banking system, 16 trillion between cash and treasuries and stocks and things that can be converted into cash. But there's $74 trillion worth of debt in the system. So when you see deflation, you don't see the money supply deflating. You see the credit bubble deflating. And like I said before, the deflation doesn't benefit you because when asset prices drop, most of you lose your job. When the stock market drops 20, 30%, you get laid off. So you can't even capitalize on the deflation because you lose your job. No one can prove what I'm saying is wrong. If what I'm saying is wrong, name for me one fiat currency that has not went to zero. You can't. That's a fact. Has gold always been money? After the fiat currencies collapse, what do people always go back to? A gold standard. Fact. That's a fact. Who's buying gold and silver at record levels? China and Russia. Fact. Who are some of the heaviest users of cryptocurrency? China and Russia. Fact. People want to get away from the dollar, and it's happening in your face. You cannot pretend and be blind and be stupid to what's in your face. And you can't let disinformation agents like Mark J distract you to what you should be doing. Now, as I said to you guys, you will get the deflation before you get the inflation. Why is that? Because governments need an excuse to print the money. They need an excuse to start the bailout process. And as I said before, right on cue, you see oil crashing and Trump's tweeting this out. We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry go down. Right on cue. What does that mean? That means more money printing, Well, guys, we just did 6.2 trillion in the CARES Act and the stimulus bill. The Fed just did 4.5 trillion in guarantees. The Fed's been injecting $100 billion a day into the repo market since September on average. On average. Interest rates are at 0%. And these oil companies still can't make money because the only way they can make money is by financial engineering. Now, if some of you've been following me for a while, so you've heard this already and you've seen me already talk about this. This isn't complicated. Right? I always pick $35 because that's how much an ounce of gold cost in 1971. If you listen to idiots like Mark J., remember, how can you build generational wealth if you can't pass down cash? If I work for cash, I can't just leave my cash in a bank account and give it to my kids. In 1971, an ounce of gold was $35. Let me pull up the chart that I want to show you guys. I don't have it here. I thought I had it up here. I want to show you guys something because I always pull up this chart from TradingView. Here you go. I do have it here, right here. If I had the choice, this blows Mark J's entire argument away. If I had $35 in 1971 and I just put it into an ounce of gold, that same $35 today would be worth $1,685. You don't have to complicate this. You don't have to have a PhD in mathematics. If I took $35 and I parked it in gold in 71 and I never looked at it again and I just parked it in my house, it would be worth $1,685. That means that I can convert that asset into $1,685. If I parked it in cash, it would still be $35. What can the $35 buy today? The $35 has the purchasing power of $5.26. I want you to think about that, right? So I want you to think about when Mark J is saying that. If you took $35 in cash from 1971 and I put my $35 in gold and you put your $35 in the bank, my $35 is worth $1,682. Your $35 is worth $5.26. Who benefited? I'll let the chat answer that. Who benefited? Who maintained purchasing power, if not increased purchasing power? And who lost purchasing power? Who gained wealth and who lost wealth? If I held dollars, I lost wealth. But, let Mark J say it. You can't compare it to 1913. Well, let's compare it to 1971. Let's compare it to 1980. Where do you want to start from? Because cash is trash. The only reason why the dollar has value is because of the Bretton Woods system. When we delinked from the gold standard, we forced every other country to peg their currency to the dollar. And we get to export our inflation to the rest of the world. But let me tell you what's happening to the rest of the world, especially in China. While the Chinese are sitting in the factories and they're making your shoes and they're making your dishwashers and they're doing it for $2 an hour, $3 an hour, or whatever their minimum wage is, I don't know off the top of my head. You think the Chinese people are sitting in the factory and they're saying, damn, I don't want this dishwasher. Damn, I don't want these shoes. I don't want this iPad. No. Guess what they're saying? I want this too. And eventually, the Chinese are going to go from producing all of those goods and services to one day they're going to start consuming those goods and services. See, China is smart. They're deindustrializing the West. They're building their country up through our trade deficit. They're devaluing their currency, which is forcing us to have to devalue ours even faster. And then they're looking to move away from the dollar to a stronger currency, to a stronger monetary base. And Russia's doing the same thing. And then they're going to start consuming their own goods that they make in their own country. But you listen to Mark J, you listen to these trolls on the internet, and they tell you, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, like you can't compare it to 1913. Why can't you? How do you pass down wealth? How am I going to pass down wealth? Like this is what he says. He says a 90% drop in value of the dollar since 1913 is primarily relevant from a comparative basis. None of us were alive then, and you have no control of when you were born. This is what he's saying. A comparative basis. Guys, you can go back to the 70s. You can go back to the 80s. Go back to the 90s. It's in your face. You can't deny what's in your face with inflation. Right? Read this right here for you. It says, after adjusting for inflation, however, today's average hourly wage has just about the same purchasing power it did in 1978. So I don't got to go back to 1913 to prove my point. I can go to 1978. Following a long slide in the 1980s and early 1990s and bumpy, inconsistent growth since then. In fact, in real terms, average hourly earnings peaked almost 45 years ago. The $4.03 an hour rate recorded in January 1973 had the same purchasing power that $23.68 would have today. So you see, I blocked them because, guys, I'm trying to get you to understand that there are forces at work on the internet. And I put that in the chat. That's from the Pew Research. Guys, I want you to think about this, right? Let's say I'm wrong. There's always a possibility that I'm wrong, right? Nothing is 100% proof. Right, 100%. If I'm wrong, the way the world will look, if they don't inflate themselves out of this bubble, if they don't print trillions of more dollars, pension plans go bust, 401ks go bust, people will be in the street rioting, crime will spiral out of control. We will have a Mad Max apocalypse if they don't inflate their way out of it. Because inflation is a hidden tax that you don't see. It's slow, it's gradual. It's 3% every year. And just because if the Fed wants to be suicidal and not inflate their way out of this, you think the rest of the world is going to sit back and go into a Great Depression? No. It's happening in your face. People are moving from the dollar. We're living through history. Be careful with who you listen to. I keep trying to tell you guys that. Be very, very leery. This article, I talk about this all the time. U.S. household debt hits a record high, 14.15 trillion. Why? Because money is debt. The economy can only grow by getting you to go into debt. So what the government is saying, well, hell, if you can't go into debt, we'll go into debt for you. Total U.S. household debt reached a record 14.15 trillion at the end of the year after increasing by 193 billion. The report is based on a nationally representative sample of individual and household level debt and credit records drawn from Equifax credit data. Noted that total household debt is now nominally $1.5 trillion higher than the pre-recession peak of 12.68 trillion in the third quarter of 2008. Guys, I don't guess when I speak, I give you facts. Your Fed chairman is telling you that inflation is low. Inflation is low. So you're trading your most precious resource for a piece of paper that every year loses on average 3%. And they're saying that this is a good thing. They're telling you that to debase your currency, you're trading your essence, your lifeblood for money, and they're telling you they're going to debase it 3%. And you have people like Mark J telling you, oh, that doesn't matter. It's not going to zero. Why won't it go to zero? Every fiat currency has went to zero. It's but so much you can rig it for. It's but so long you can play this game. It's but so long that they can suppress the price of silver. It's but so long. Can't keep this game going forever. Be careful with the comment section. Right here, governments in 30 countries are paying keyboard armies to spread propaganda. At least 30 governments around the world are employing keyboard armies to spread propaganda and attack critics, a report found. The annual Freedom on the Net report from the think tank Freedom House showed that the spread of online misinformation went far beyond Russia and China to almost half of 65 countries studied in the report. It found governments including Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey were using paid pro-government commentators to shape opinions online, often to give the impression of grassroots support for government policies. Now, I want you to think about this. Who are you following on the internet? Right? These are the troll armies on the internet that spread disinformation. I don't guess when I say this. They're on the government payroll to spread it to spread conspiracy theories, to tell you don't need gold and silver. Gold just a rock. Why are you going to buy a rock for? What can that rock do? There's 300 of you watching. Hit the like button. It helps the content rank in the search engine. I try to get you guys to understand, man. It's here in your face. Go look it up. So now the question is, who are you going to listen to, me or Mark J? Right? Go to Mark J's profile, as I said before. And I noticed this. I start getting a lot of people like Mark J. 12 subscribers and no content on his channel. No content. And I told you, I seen this picture right here over and over and over again. They're attacking my channel. They're flagging my videos. Because I shouldn't be on here talking about economics. I shouldn't be on here talking to you about geopolitics. I should be on here talking to you about Little Boosie. I should be on here talking to you about the end of the world. I should be on here talking to you about hip hop and Teddy Riley versus Babyface. I shouldn't be on here talking to you about getting prepared and buying supplies. I shouldn't be talking to you about cryptography and cryptocurrencies. I should be on here talking to you about white supremacy and racism. I should be doing what they want me to do because those are choosing paths that they want you to go down. Those are predetermined paths that they want you to talk about. You can get on here and talk about white supremacy all day long and racism because you're not a threat. You're sitting on here talking all day long. You're not a threat. You know when you become a threat? When you really go out here and start trying to build something. When you really go out here and you start acquiring assets. When you start using the system against them. That's when you become a threat to people. Right? Sitting on here ranting and raving all day long. Mother F this, mother F that. That's not nothing. They love that. You putting on a scene. They love for you to come on here all day long and be a character and make puppets. Who you hurting? Yeah, you'll get your donations. You'll sell your t-shirts. You're not changing nothing. See, when you start showing people the technology and not how to think, but how to question things from an analytical perspective, right? Not just questioning just to question. Not just, I don't trust anything. No, start really analytically looking at things and asking important, detailed questions. You become dangerous. Because now you're not controllable. You're unpredictable. See, I'm unpredictable. I'm a black guy from the hood. Grew up most of my life playing basketball. I shouldn't be talking about geopolitics. I should be wondering when the NBA season is going to come back. I shouldn't be talking about privacy and cryptography and the Tor network and the Tor browser. I shouldn't be talking to you about stuff like that. Privacy coins like Monero. I shouldn't be speaking to you about stuff like that. Because see, that's real power. Those are things that threaten the system. But if I can only talk to you about Lizzo, I'll make you laugh, I'll entertain you, but I won't change anything. If I talk to you about gold and silver being money, fiat currencies being worthless, and they always going to zero. If gold drops 20%, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy more. If Bitcoin drops 50%, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy more. Because I'm playing the long game. I'm not playing the short game. See, Mark J thinks you're dumb. Mark J believes that you're dumb. Because see, one thing that the elites have mastered, they've mastered the art of tricknology. So he's using doublespeak on you. He's telling you the dollar's up 4% for the year. I'm telling you it's down 90% over 100 years. Which one you going to go with? Which one you going to follow? If you go back to 71 or 78, the dollar's down over 80%. But which one you going to listen to? See, tricknology is going to say to you, look, the dollar's up 4% over 3 months. But you don't only live just 3 months, you live years. So I got to look at the data over a long period of time to see how the assets performed. Right? You're going to work over you're going to work over a 40-year period. You're going to get paid fiat currency over a 40-year period. I don't care about how much the dollar's worth today. I care how much it's been worth over a 40-year period, right? Because it's cumulative. That's the important part. See, that's where they get you at with the trick, because inflation is a hidden tax. You can't see it, but you feel it over time, but it's so small. It's death by 1,000 cuts. Right? It's the boiling frog analogy. Right? If you boil the water too hot, the frog is going to hop out immediately. But if you set that water just right, the frog will get in that pot and he'll lay on his back. He'll do tricks in the water, and little do he know that he's being boiled alive. That's what the American people are. See, we sat back for decades and we listened to people like Mark J, who told us everything's going to be okay. You have a job, you have a pension, and then now you get time to retire, and the cost of everything around you is 10 times higher. That's why. Because they tricked you. Because you can't see it. The Matrix, it's the prison that you can't see. Because the prison is really on your mind. That's where the prison's at. And if you can free the way you think, you become very dangerous. Because now you begin to realize there will always be control. See, once you understand that every level you go to, there will always be another form of control. And I tell you guys, I love the movie The Matrix because it's so powerful. There's so much information in there. When Neo went to go meet the architect explained to him that Zion was created to make them think that they had a chance at winning the war, that they could never win. That this wasn't the first time that the Matrix had been reset. That there had been 6 versions of the Matrix before this one. That humans had to feel the need that they were fighting a war that they could win. So no matter which conspiracy theory you believe in, there will always be a form of control because you don't know who's behind that conspiracy. And you don't, with the Keymaster, when he opened up the different doors, opened up different lanes, but it's still another form of control. See, me, I want to be the Merovingian, the relic of the Matrix, because I understand you can't change the Matrix, but you can bend it. You can make it become what you want it to if you understand what you're doing. Right? I want to bend this system to what I want it to be. And I'm trying to get you to understand that. We're all in different avenues and different lanes. You must find your lane, but always understand that there will be a form of control. There will always be some form of control. How much depends on how much you understand. But I know my channel is being attacked. And with that being said, guys, I'll take some questions now. And please like the video. Don't be stingy with the likes. It's free to like. It's free to share. It's free to dislike. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, put it on all. Make sure you join my mailing list. But always understand there will always be control. So let's see what's here. And thank you to everyone who donated. I appreciate it. See if I can find any of the comments. I may have missed some of you guys who donated earlier. If you donated earlier, post your question again if you're still here. I own land already. 100% Joel Hogan. I believe that Professor Truth and Jason Black is the same guy. I believe that Professor Black and Professor Black Truth and Jason Black, they are using audio voice technology to mask their voices. It's so easy to tell that they're the same person. They have a certain cadence in the way that they speak. I caught on to that a very long time ago. If you go back and watch my video I did on Sean King, I believe I spoke about that. Guys, you're not going to be on YouTube being a freedom fighter and thinking that you're going to hide your identity. That in itself is a joke, but it's a gimmick. But this is why I tell you guys, you have to understand the Matrix. They will make you believe that you're following a cause. Government propaganda. They do this on purpose to spread this. You have to be a three-dimensional thinker. Take what you can get from Jason, take what you can get from Professor Black Truth, and go about your way. Don't let these people lead you down a path and have you thinking that you're out here about to start a revolution, because you're not. Excuse me. In Night, I like that question. Do you think it's too late to win the war and just have a basic standard of living? It's never too late to win. As I said to you guys the other day, never underestimate the spirit of people. Never underestimate it. But there has to be great pain before there can be great triumph. And people don't rise to the occasion until they feel like they've lost something. And most people right now, they haven't lost anything. They haven't lost enough. That's just the reality, right? Like you need a motivating factor. And I just think that with technology, if you go back to Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World or George Orwell's 1984, it's weird. And I said this before. George Orwell was saying that, you need to watch out for Big Brother. And here today, you have people embracing Big Brother. Like, people are literally taking their own phone and literally recording their every move in life. And they're enjoying it. People are enjoying being surveilled. They're recording themselves doing drugs on the internet. They're recording themselves, half naked on the internet. Like, Big Brother doesn't have to actually, force them to do things. Like, see, in 1984, right, it was about being authoritative, right? Like a repressive, in your face. The government's not even in your face now. People are willingly checking in their location everywhere they go. They want this, right? George Orwell could never have predicted that people would want to be enslaved and want to be in bondage. Right? And that's where Aldous Huxley comes, because John Lycos is talking about. See, Aldous Huxley said it would be a technological way that they would control the people and control the masses. And you have people, they enjoy being controlled and told what to do and where to go. I was able to catch that Mark J was a troll instantly. Like right now here in the chat, I can see certain people that are trolls, that are here to spread misinformation. I just sit back and watch because I want to be able to track these trolls. Right? But people love this bondage. They love it. I guarantee you, when the vaccine comes out, people are going to get online to get the vaccine. They're going to run to get that vaccine. And it hasn't even been tested yet properly. They're going to love it. My job is to wake you up, those who want it. My job is to spread information for those who want it. If you don't want it, don't take it. It's not for everyone. This is a lonely path to walk. People say, oh, why don't you collaborate with other YouTubers? Because I know most of these YouTubers are full of it. They're only doing this for money. This is a hustle to most of these people. They don't care about what really happens to you. They're not trying to build anything. They're trying to build for themselves, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But they're still steering you down the wrong path. I don't want to steer you down any path. The path I want to steer you down is for you to think for yourself, for you to question things intelligently from an analytical perspective, looking at their data and their information and seeing where they're weak at. See, that's what China did. China realized we have all of the West manufacturing. We own their debt through the treasuries. Russia's going to keep flooding the market with cheap oil. Because these oil companies, they can't make money below $50 oil, right? We're going to buy up all of the gold and silver. They're calculated. This was done by design, as I told you before. And then in that game, there's a bigger game. Because then there's people behind Russia and China, the power brokers, who fund both sides. The Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Wahlbergs. Right? They fund both sides. So no matter who wins, they win. Right? If I fund the left and I fund the right, whoever wins, I still win. Order out of chaos. 100% Larry Martin. 100% order out of chaos. Do you think China will be able to establish trust in its own currency? China's government has far more power in terms of being able to manipulate the value of its currency. I don't really know about that, guys. I truly don't know as far as a new currency is concerned. Um, I focus more on I don't focus on what will be the new currency. I focus more on the disruptive technology. I know that Bitcoin is disruptive. Cryptocurrencies in general is disruptive for many world governments because the way that the technology is designed, you can't really, one person can't control it, right? If it's truly decentralized. They can control aspects of it through how it was designed, but they can't really control the currency. And one thing about governments, they want to be able to control the tech. See, the biggest wild card is how stupid are the people. And you can never underestimate how dumb people are. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have. Most people are going to go for whatever the new currency is going to be because most people just want to get back to the party. They want to get back to the music. They want to get back to where they are. So whatever new currency may come up, you can't underestimate how stupid people truly may be. But that doesn't mean that alternative currency still won't have value because there are intelligent people like you and I. And that's where the true value lies. And that's why I said before, like people like me, once I got onboarded to Monero and I got onboarded to Bitcoin and I got red pilled, you could never get me to go back. Right. And there are going to be so many people like myself who we're going to get in where we fit in at, depending on whatever becomes the power, whatever becomes the new system. We'll get into that system. But we will always have our alternatives. And that was the whole purpose of cryptocurrency being created in 2008 and 2009 when Satoshi put together Bitcoin. And in the Genesis block, he embedded that the chancellor is on the brink of a second bailout. People want alternatives to what's going on here. People want out. And we don't need everyone to join our revolution. We only need a small amount. Like a good movie to watch is V for Vendetta. That's a really, really good movie to watch. If we don't need we don't need billions of people to side with us. We only need a few million. And that's the most important thing. Creature from Jekyll Island is an amazing book. I tell you guys all the time to go read that book. Always read that book. No, people can read and write high value. I think you just want to be a troll. No, people can read and write. A lot of people, they just don't want to be independent. It's easy to have someone else take care of you. And that's what people want. People want to be taken care of. Jay Green, I see myself doing whatever's necessary. depending on where the wind blows, right? This is why you have to stay flexible. I don't know what the future truly holds as far as to will the U.S. win? Could the U.S. be playing possum? Could they be playing weak to then counter strike? We just don't know. What I do know is that I'm hedged either way. I'm thinking like an international banker, like the money changers. I want to fund both sides. I want to be on both sides of the coin. I want to hold gold. I want to own real estate, and I want to own some dollars, and I want to own silver, and I want to own crypto. Someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. I don't know who will win and I don't know who will lose. But I know that this system is unsustainable. I know that I'm going off of history. I know that every great empire has eventually fallen. Going back to the Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, they all fall. And, history doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. And I'm trying to get you guys to understand that. I'm not getting caught up into this whole Bloods versus Crips, red versus blue. I'm focused more on protecting myself. And I think that that's the most important thing. Yeah, silver. Listen, any type of silver investment, if it's in the terms of, it's better to own bigger amounts of precious metals because it's easier to sell them and transfer them, right? As far as like when you want to cash in, and also saving on premiums. No, I don't really study plants or animals. Best place to buy gold is AppMex or JM Bullion. Go back to some of my older videos and I talk about that. Coinbase is good for people that, if you're new to cryptocurrency and you just want to get in, yes, Coinbase is good for that. But if you're looking to really own your crypto, you need to get a hardware wallet and put your crypto on a hardware wallet. And I would recommend that you use a DEX, a decentralized exchange, to buy your cryptocurrency using the Tor browser if you could, combined with a VPN to protect yourself. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin, right? So that's the most important thing. Always physical over that. Unless you're poor, like if you don't have a lot of money, remember, guys, I always tell you, physical gold and silver is for people that you have wealth. Like, you have $50,000 to $100,000 and more that you're trying to protect. Like, you have real wealth, right? That's where you want to be owning physical silver. If you're a speculator and you're trying to make fiat, then you need to be speculating in the stock market, right? Like, nothing's going stock market, crypto market. Like, that's because you're speculating, right? That's where you're going to get a 10x return on your money. Gold is for more or less people who want to preserve purchasing power, right? It's a hedge. It's a hedge against inflation, right? Okay, Dapper and Raw Company. If you think I don't have any raw stuff, then that's what you believe. You believe what you want to. This is not about caring for people or not caring for people, Abad. This is when I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, even 22, I wasted a lot of time following people on the internet. So this isn't about caring for people or not. This is about getting people to understand, do not waste your time. I went through a phase of listening to David Icke and Alex Jones and Ron Paul and Rand Paul and Jordan Maxwell. And I brought books and DVDs and lectures and I attended seminars. And guess what? The world never ended. Here we are now in 2020. 2012 came and the Mayan calendar was wrong. Y2K came and they were wrong, right? Barack Obama did not become a dictator like they said he would do and become the president forever. And I don't want to see a lot of other people go down that path of following foolishness. So this is not about, caring for people. This is about informing people, doing my job to inform people. That's my job. That's my job, right? It's not about caring for people or not for people. It's about spreading information. Let's just be real about it. This is not profitable by any stretch of the imagination. Could it become profitable 2-3 years from now? Maybe, right? But it's not about making money. I just don't want to see people waste their time. And also, I want to work on my public speaking because I have other engagements that I want to participate in that's outside of YouTube. And I understand that I need to get better with my public speaking. So I have my own things that I want to focus on too. What do you think about the vax movement? And listen, in some instances, there are some people who they do need those vaccines, and then there are other instances where people don't. Me personally, I'm one of those people. I'm anti-vax. I'm not putting anything foreign in my body like that. That's just me personally. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. That's a personal decision that you have to make. But I'm gonna let my immune system try to do the trick. And if it can't, then I'm one of those people. I'd rather go out on my own sword and shield. If I go down that way, then I go down that way. But I'd rather die on my terms any day than die on your terms because I trusted you. Depending on where you buy it from, real deal. I think that if if you're a good old boy or girl, and there's nothing wrong with being a good old boy or girl, and you don't want any problems with the IRS and the government, report your crypto and pay your taxes. Pay your taxes, go to sleep, go to work, and be a good citizen. If you're someone like me and you operate outside of the system, you have a different view about taxes and reporting to the government. So you have to figure out how you want to go about it, right? Some people, they don't want any problems, they don't want any static with the government, so they pay their taxes and they do what they're supposed to do and they do what they're told. Then you have people like me who we do what we want to do or what we can do. So I'll leave that there. Let you read through that, read in between the lines. That's a good question, Charles Swain. I don't believe we'll get to that point, but then, like, again, you just never know, right? Keep all options open. I don't think that that's likely. I believe that it's going to be through propaganda, through bioterrorism, through economic terrorism. I don't believe that we're ever going to see another, you know, um, all out nuclear planes. I don't see that. I see more of a scientific dictatorship set up, and I see more of a that's why Bretton Woods was created, right? The Bretton Woods system was created after World War II, which gave the dollar so much value, where we were able to move away from the gold standard and basically let every other country peg their currency to our currency, because we wanted to get to a place of open trade and get away from that whole, our trade wars and all that stuff, more of an open and free economy and free global trade. So I believe it's easier to control populations when you make them think that everything's okay. I think that it would be, there's too many people in the world today to have like those big cataclysmic events like there were before. So you have to factor that in, that there's 7 billion people on the planet Earth, and it would be too chaotic to have like an all-out war that type of way. And if you use a nuclear bomb on something, it's like you can't, the land is no good anymore. So I don't see that. I see, like I said, more of a scientific soft war, cold war. So. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to end the stream here. I like to keep them around an hour and a half so that people can watch and consume this content. I want to leave this video like this, guys. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to be a PhD in economics or finance. I don't claim to be some multi-millionaire, swaggy, rich guy. I claim to be a guy who picked himself up by his own bootstraps. I claim to be a person who I've seen a lot and I've done a lot. And I follow the common sense approach to things, which is why I named my channel What Happened to Common Sense. History doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. I'm aware that a lot of you trolls are watching my page. You're following my page now, and you view me as a threat. And my job is to spread information for you to go and fact check that information. Here's a fact. The dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since 1913. Here's a fact. If you put $35 in gold in 1971 and you held $35 in a bank account, you lost. I gained. Gold is money. It has always been money. The rest of the world is getting away from the dollar. They're wanting to diversify and move away from the dollar. Here's some great information that you can take away from this. If I'm wrong and everything goes back to normal, then everyone's fine. Right? If I'm wrong and none of this stuff happens, the dollar doesn't collapse, gold goes down. Hey, you got your 401k, you got your pension, you got your job. You can go back to the bar, go back to listening to music, and everything will be fine. And I'll just be a crazy guy on the internet with a bunch of gold coins and crypto. But then there's the flip side. What if I'm right? What if Chicken Little is right and the aliens are actually coming? The guy, you ever seen Chicken Little? What if I'm right? Then what? Are you prepared if I'm right? See, that's the thing that so many people, they don't think of. They never plan for what if Alex Jones is right? What if Peter Schiff is right? What if Nouriel Roubini, Jim Rogers, what if any of these people are right? What if we get deflation? What if we get inflation? What if we get stagflation? Are you prepared? These are the things that you have to ask yourself, those important questions. And that's what this channel is for. Are you prepared? I think it was Brother Malcolm who said, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. For if you're prepared and the worst happens, you're fine. I mean, yeah, I think it goes that way. Not sure. But guys, it won't hurt to prepare. Be prepared. So, like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, join the mailing list that's in the description. Simply just go into my description, click on the link, put in your email information so that you can be on my list in case I lose my channel. I can always update you on where my new channel would be. Also, follow me on Instagram, shoot me a message, and if you want to support the content financially, link to a PayPal is in the description. Thank you to everyone who donated today. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful night. And make sure, most importantly, be safe.